Welcome back to my channel. Today we explore the value of specific coins, the top for most valuable U.S. Lincoln Wheat Penny coins value in today's market. So let's get started. The Lincoln Wheat Penny is one of the most iconic and widely collected coins in American history. Introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. This penny marked the first time a U.S. president was featured on circulating coinage. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin features a profile of Lincoln on the obverse and two stalks of wheat flanking the words 1 cent on the reverse. The wheat reverse was used until 1958, when it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design. Among the many years of production for the Lincoln Wheat Penny, the 1945 issue is especially notable due to its high mintage and its connection to the final months of World War II. In this video, we'll focus on the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark, meaning it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. We'll explore its history, examine its characteristics, and take a close look at its current value in the numismatic market specifically. In good circulated condition, the year 1945 was a significant time in American and global history. The Second World War was drawing to a close, and the United States was transitioning from a wartime to a peacetime economy. In terms of coin production, materials were still being conserved due to wartime needs. However, by 1945, the U.S. Mint had returned to using its standard bronze composition for the Lincoln cent. This alloy consisted of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This was a change from the previous 2 years, 1943 and 1944, when zinc-coated steel and recycled shell casings, respectively, had been used for penny production due to copper shortages. In 1945, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 1 billion Lincoln Wheat Pennies. To be exact, the total mintage for the 1945 penny, without a mint mark, was approximately 1,040,515,000 coins. This massive production run means that the coin is not considered rare by mintage numbers alone. However, collectors still seek out examples in high grades or with unique features such as errors or varieties. When evaluating the value of a 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny, condition is one of the most important factors. For this discussion, we are focusing on coins in good condition. In numismatic grading terms, good condition typically refers to coins that have seen significant circulation, but still retain identifiable design details. On a scale of 1 to 70, these coins would fall near the lower end, usually between grades G4 and VG8. At this level, the date and major design features are visible, though the finer details are worn smooth. Because of the coin's high mintage, and the fact that many have survived, a 1945 Lincoln penny in good condition is quite common. In today's market, the value of such a coin typically ranges from 1 cent to 10 cents. In most cases, a circulated example in average good condition will sell for about 3 to 5 cents. Dealers may buy these coins in bulk or offer them in grab bags for beginner collectors. While the value may seem modest, there are still reasons to hold on to or collect them, especially for educational or starter sets. There are also a few special considerations that can affect the value of a 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny even in good condition. One of those factors is the presence of errors or varieties. Mint errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, and clipped planchets can greatly increase a coin's value, even if the coin is otherwise heavily circulated. For instance, a 1945 penny with a dramatic double die obverse could be worth several dollars or more, depending on the visibility and severity of the error. However, such varieties are relatively rare, and each coin must be evaluated individually. Another aspect to consider is the coin's eye appeal and overall preservation. Even within the category of good condition, some coins may have fewer nicks, scratches, or discoloration than others. A well-preserved, good condition coin with an even brown tone and no corrosion or verdigris might be more attractive to a collector than a coin with heavy spotting or damage. Although this difference may not translate into a substantial price difference, it can still influence a buyer's decision. So, why are people still interested in 1945 Lincoln Wheat Pennies if their market value is low? For many collectors, it's not just about the financial return. The 1945 penny offers historical significance, especially as a wartime artifact. It connects collectors to a pivotal moment in American and world history. It's also a tangible piece of Americana that has passed through countless hands over the past 80 years. Moreover, collecting Lincoln cents is a popular entry point into the world of new. A 1945 penny may be the first coin a young collector finds in their pocket change or a family member's old coin jar. For those interested in collecting or investing, it's important to understand that coin values are dynamic and influenced by several market factors. These include supply and demand, metal prices, collector trends, and auction results. Websites such as PCGS, Price Guide, NGC, Coin Price Guide, and recent eBay sales can provide updated information on current market values. Still, for coins in good circulated condition, Large shifts in value are unlikely unless a major error or unique characteristic is discovered. If you happen to come across a 1945 Lincoln penny without a mint mark, and you're curious about its worth, the first step is to assess its condition. If the coin shows significant wear, but the date and major features are still visible, it falls into the good condition range. Such a coin is worth a few cents to a collector or dealer. It may not make you rich, but it is still a meaningful piece of history. If you're lucky enough to find one in better condition, such as fine, very fine, or uncirculated, then the value could rise accordingly. In fine to very fine condition, a 1945 Lincoln penny might fetch 10 to 20 cents. In uncirculated or mint state condition, values can range from $1 to several dollars, depending on the grade. Coins graded MS65 or higher, with strong luster and minimal marks, can command premium prices, especially from grading certified services. In summary, the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark in good condition is a common but historically significant coin. Its value today typically ranges from 1 to 10 cents, with most examples selling around 3 to 5 cents. While not a rare treasure, it remains an important piece of American numismatic heritage and is a great addition to any coin collection, whether you collect for fun, for history, or for investment. The Lincoln wheat cent remains a timeless and rewarding pursuit. Asterisk. Next up, the Lincoln wheat penny is one of the most widely recognized coins ever produced by the United States Mint. Issued from 1909 to 1958, these 1-cent pieces have become a favorite among collectors and history enthusiasts alike. One of the more commonly encountered years in this series is 1957. In this video, we'll be focusing specifically on the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny that has no mint mark and is in extra fine condition. We'll explore its background, characteristics, collector interest, and most importantly, what it's worth in today's market. The 1957 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. That year, over 282 million pennies were minted in Philadelphia alone. This high mintage means that the coin is relatively common, especially compared to earlier dates or rare mint-era coins. Despite its abundance, there is still collector interest, particularly when the coin is in better conditions, such as extra fine, uncirculated, or mint state. To better understand the value of a 1957 penny in extra fine condition, let's begin by defining what extra fine means in coin grading terms. Extra fine, often abbreviated as XF or F, is a grade that falls on the upper end of circulated coins. It's above very fine and below about uncirculated. An extra fine penny will still show sharp details in Lincoln's hair and the wheat stalks on the reverse. Some of the original mint luster may even be visible, but there will be light wear on the high points of the design. For a coin that has circulated for decades, an extra fine grade indicates that it was well preserved now. The absence of a mint mark on the 1957 penny means that it was minted in Philadelphia. That detail can be important for collectors because different mints often produced coins in varying quantities and with varying levels of die quality. However, in the case of 1957, both the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced a large number of wheat pennies, with the Denver mint using the D mint mark. Because the 1957 Lincoln penny is not a rare coin by itself, condition becomes the most important factor in determining value. For coins in extra fine condition, there is some collector demand, though prices remain modest due to the large number of coins still in circulation or stored away in collections. As of today's market, the average value of a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark in extra fine condition ranges between 10 and 20 cents. That's right, while the coin is over 65 years old and has historical significance. Its sheer abundance keeps the market value low for anything less than mint state. That said, some collectors are willing to pay a little more for especially attractive specimens, coins with unusual toning, or those that have strong strike characteristics and minimal wear. In cases like these, an extra fine 1957 penny might sell for up to 50 cents or more in retail environments, such as local coin shops or online marketplaces like eBay. But typically, 10 to 20 cents is a realistic range for individual coins, without any rare errors or unusual features. Now let's take a moment to consider what makes a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny more valuable than usual. While a regular extra fine example may only be worth a few cents over face value, there are exceptions in the form of error coins. Examples of such errors include doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, or repunched mint marks. However, since the Philadelphia version of the 1957 penny lacks a mint mark, repunched marks do not apply here. If a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark happens to show a doubled die, particularly on the date, the lettering, or Lincoln's P, could be worth significantly more. In such cases, values can climb to several dollars or more, depending on the severity of the error and its visibility. These coins are usually identified by specialists or sent to grading services like PCGS or NGC for authentication and certification. Another scenario where a 1957 penny can command a higher price is when it has been professionally graded in high mint state conditions. A coin that earns a grade of MS65 or higher, meaning it is in mint condition with full original luster and no wear, can be worth several dollars or even more, depending on the buyer and market trends. But again, this is outside the extra fine condition we're focusing on in this video. So why do collectors bother with coins like the 1957 wheat penny if they aren't particularly valuable? The answer lies in the historical and educational appeal. The wheat penny series marks the first time Abraham Lincoln appeared on a circulating U.S. coin, and it replaced the Indian head cent that had been in use since 1859. The design, created by Victor David Brenner, was introduced in 1909 to mark the centennial of Lincoln's birth. Collectors often seek to build complete sets of Lincoln wheat pennies, including every year and mint mark from 1909 to 1958. The 1957 penny plays a role in completing those sets, and while it may not be a rare key date, it's essential for achieving a full run. Additionally, the wheat reverse design was discontinued after 1958, replaced in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial reverse, making the final years of the wheat penny series especially nostalgic for many collectors. In terms of selling a 1957 penny in extra fine condition, it's important to know where and how to sell it. Individual coins in this condition may not attract high bids, but if you have a roll of similar quality coins, you may find interest from dealers or bulk buyers. Selling in person, at coin shows, local shops, or through online auctions are all viable options. Still, be prepared for modest offers unless you can prove the coin has something special such as an error, toning, or unusually sharp strike. To summarize, the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark in extra fine condition is not rare and does not command a high market value. On average, such a coin is worth between 10 and 20 cents in today's market. However, it remains an accessible and historically meaningful piece for collectors and is often used to teach beginners the basics of coin collecting, grading, and thus mint history. While it may not bring big money, its role in American numismatics is significant, and its classic design and long legacy continue to make it a staple of many coin collections. If you find one in your change, it's worth holding on to if not for profit, then for its connection to an earlier time in American currency. Next up, the Lincoln wheat penny is one of the most iconic coins in American numismatic history. First minted in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's image. Among the many dates and mint marks in the series, the 1951 Lincoln wheat penny with the S mint mark is one that often piques the interest of collectors, especially when found in circulated or dirty condition. Today, we'll take a closer look at this specific coin, its features, and how much it's really worth in today's market. Let's begin with the basics. The 1951 S Lincoln wheat penny was struck at the San Francisco Mint. In total, just over 136 million of these coins were produced. While that might sound like a high number, many of these coins were put into circulation and stayed there for years. As a result, finding a 1950 ONS penny in pristine condition is much less common today. However, what about those coins that were not kept safe in collections? The ones that have seen years of use and commerce, left forgotten in drawers, piggy banks, or even buried in the dirt. These are what we often call dirty or circulated coins. They show signs of wear, discoloration, scratches, and sometimes corrosion. Despite their condition, they can still have value though. That value depends heavily on a few key factors. The first factor is demand. The 1950 UNS penny is not a rare date by itself, but it does hold interest for those trying to complete a Lincoln wheat cent collection. Most collectors look for at least one example from each year and mint mark. As such, there is always a steady demand for coins like the 1951S. The second factor is condition. Professional coin grading agencies use a scale from 1 to 72 grade coins, with 70 being a perfect, uncirculated example. Dirty or circulated coins typically fall within the lower end of this scale, between grades 1 and 20. These lower grade coins are considered good to fine condition, with visible wear and limited detail. Even if the coin is dirty, it can still retain some of its design, which can help identify it and assess its grade. A coin in extremely dirty condition may not be graded professionally unless it's part of a larger batch or collection, but that doesn't mean it has no value. On the contrary, many everyday people discover these coins and want to know whether they should hold on to them or sell them in circulated condition, which includes most dirty coins found in change or storage. The 1950 OS penny usually ranges in value from 3 cents to about 25 cents. The lower end reflects heavy wear or severe discoloration. The higher end of that range applies to coins with less damage. where most of the details are still visible, even if the coin is not visually appealing. In the current market, collectors or bulk buyers often purchase wheat pennies by the pound or in rolls. A typical roll of 50 circulated wheat cents, including various dates and mint marks, might sell for $2 to $4. That breaks down to roughly 4 to 8 cents per coin. Therefore, if you're looking to sell a single dirty 1951 penny, you can reasonably expect to receive about 5 cents, unless there is something unusual or rare about the coin. That brings us to another consideration: errors. Sometimes, even a dirty or worn coin can be valuable if it contains a mint error. These can include things like doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, or repunched mint marks. While these errors are not common for the 1951 penny, they do exist. A 1951 with a visible and verified error can be worth several dollars or more, depending on the severity and visibility of the flaw. If you suspect your coin might have an error, it's worth having it looked at by a knowledgeable collector or local coin dealer. Even in dirty condition, a rare mint error can make your coin significantly more valuable. Now, let's talk about cleaning. Many people think that cleaning a dirty coin will increase its value. Unfortunately, this is almost always the opposite. Cleaning a coin, especially using abrasive materials, can scratch or damage its surface. Even if the coin looks shinier afterward, it loses value in the eyes of serious collectors. The natural patina and signs of age are part of the coin's history and appeal. So, if you find a dirty 1951 penny, it's best to leave it in its original condition, unless advised otherwise by a professional. Another common question is whether it's worth getting such a coin graded. The short answer is, probably not. Professional grading services like PCGS or NGC charge fees that far exceed the value of a low-grade 1951 penny. Unless your coin has an unusual error or is in remarkably high condition for its age, it's not economical to have it graded individually. That said, there are always exceptions. Some high-grade 1951 pennies have sold at auction for substantial amounts. In mint state condition, meaning the coin looks almost exactly as it did when it left the mint, these coins can fetch $5 to $20 or more. And if the coin is graded at the top end, such as MS67 with a red color designation, it can sell for several $100s. However, finding such a coin in the wild is extremely rare, especially if the coin is already dirty and circulated. In summary, a dirty 1951 Lincoln wheat penny has modest value. Most examples in circulated condition are worth between 3 and 10 cents, with better-looking coins possibly reaching 25 cents. If you have multiple wheat pennies, including the 1951 you might consider selling them as a group or roll. While not a fortune, these coins can still be fun to collect, trade, and learn from. The 1950 penny also represents a piece of American history, minted during the post-war years, circulated during a time of economic growth, and handled by people from many walks of life. Its worn surfaces and dirty patina may hide its age, but also reflect decades of real-world use. So, the next time you come across a dirty old penny with an mint mark and a 1951 date, don't dismiss it. It may not be rare or highly valuable, but it carries a story and still holds some worth in today's coin market. Next up, the 1947 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark is a coin that captures the attention of both beginner and experienced coin collectors. While it may seem like a common coin at first glance, its value can vary significantly depending on several key factors such as condition, coloration, and market demand. In this video, we'll explore the background of the 1947 Lincoln wheat penny, what makes it special, and what you can realistically expect it to be worth today, especially if yours is in black-toned circulated condition. To begin, let's start with a brief history of the Lincoln wheat penny series, first issued in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The wheat penny quickly became an iconic piece of American coinage. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it features a portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity and agriculture. The wheat penny was minted until 1958, after which it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. The 1947 wheat penny was minted just 2 years after the end of World War II, during a period when the United States was recovering from wartime production restrictions. That year, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 190 million Lincoln wheat pennies. Since Philadelphia minted coins bear no mint mark, a 1947 penny without a mint mark originated from this facility. Because of the high mintage, the 1947 no-mint mark penny is generally considered a common date. Millions of these coins were released into circulation, and many still exist today. However, that doesn't mean all examples are created equal. Their value depends significantly on the coin's condition, color, and whether any errors or unique characteristics are present. When discussing condition, coin collectors use a grading scale that ranges from poor to mint state. A coin in poor condition will show heavy wear, with much of the design worn away. On the opposite end, a mint state coin will appear nearly flawless, with full detail and original luster intact. The value increases dramatically as the grade improves. Most coins found in everyday circulation are in lower grades such as good, very good, or fine. These circulated coins have lost much of their original shine and have various degrees of wear. While these lower grade coins typically have low market value, there are still factors that may affect the price, including color or toning. Now let's talk about black-toned Lincoln wheat pennies. A black appearance on a copper coin usually indicates either natural oxidation over time or environmental damage. Copper is a reactive metal, and exposure to moisture, air, and chemicals can result in a dark brown to black tone. In most cases, this is not desirable to collectors who prefer red or red-brown coins in higher grades. However, there are exceptions. If a black-toned Lincoln penny shows even wear and has no serious damage, it may still be collectible as a filler coin or for someone completing a set on a budget. But it's important to note that in the grading world, black coloration due to oxidation is often considered environmental damage. As such, these coins are usually classified as damaged or impaired, which limits their value. So what is a realistic value for a 1947 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark in black-toned circulated condition? In today's market, such a coin will generally have a value between 1 cent and 5 cents. That's right because of its high mintage and the condition issues associated with black-toned coins. The base market value is quite low. Most coin dealers and collectors consider these coins to be of low numismatic interest unless they have rare features like die errors, off-center strikes, or doubled dies. There are a few special cases where the value could increase slightly. For example, if the coin has a strong strike with full wheat lines on the reverse and has an even, natural black tone without corrosion, it might sell for 10 to 25 cents to a niche collector. Some collectors are specifically interested in toning variations, including dark-toned coins, and may pay a bit more for well-preserved examples. On the other hand, coins with pitting, surface corrosion, or signs of being cleaned or artificially darkened are typically worth only face value. Cleaning a coin, especially with chemicals or abrasives, significantly reduces its value and is highly discouraged in the numismatic community. Natural patina is always preferred over artificially altered appearances. Online marketplaces like eBay often list 1947 no-mint mark wheat pennies for sale, and the final sale price can vary based on presentation, shipping costs, and buyer interest. A black-toned circulated example may sell for 10 to 20 cents when sold individually, often only when paired with free shipping or bundled with other coins. In bulk sales, such as rolls of circulated wheat pennies, the individual value can drop to as low as 2 cents per coin. If you're wondering whether it's worth selling or holding on to a black-toned 1947 Lincoln wheat penny, the answer depends on your goals. If you're assembling a low-cost wheat penny set or enjoy collecting for historical reasons, keeping it can be satisfying. But if you're hoping for significant profit, it may be better to focus on coins in better condition or with rarer attributes. Some collectors specialize in errors and varieties, and that's one area where even a darkened 1947 penny might become more valuable. If your coin exhibits a doubled die, repunched mint mark, though this applies more to Denver or San Francisco coins, or a die crack, it could attract attention from specialists. In such cases, professional evaluation and certification by a service, like PCGS or NGC, could increase its value. In summary, the 1947 Lincoln wheat penny, without a mint mark, is generally common and low in monetary value when found in black-toned circulated condition. Its value typically ranges from 1 to 5 cents, with slight increases possible for clean, evenly toned coins. While it may not be a financial treasure, it still holds historical value and can be an enjoyable part of a collection. For those passionate about American coinage, even common coins tell a story worth preserving. So, if you have one of these coins, consider it a small piece of history. You may not get rich from it, but it represents an era of American life and the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln. For beginners and casual collectors, it's an excellent starting point to learn more about grading, toning. First up, 1982 Washington quarter, minted in Denver, the one with the D-mint mark, and exploring how much this coin is worth in the current market, even in typical circulated condition. Let's start with some background on the Washington quarter itself. First issued in 1932, the Washington quarter was introduced to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The coin features a portrait of Washington on the obverse, or front side, and the reverse initially displayed an eagle, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below. This design was in use from 1932 until 1998, before being replaced by the 50-state quarters program in 1999. The 1982 Washington quarter is part of this classic Eagle River series. However, 1982 is not just another year in the series. It holds some special significance for coin collectors. That's because 1982 was the first year that the United States Mint stopped producing uncirculated mint sets. For many years prior, the Mint issued annual sets of coins with pristine finishes, but due to budget cuts and changing priorities, they stopped in 1982 and 1983. As a result, coins from these years, especially in higher grades, are much harder to find in mint state condition. Most of the coins from these years were put directly into circulation, making uncirculated examples relatively scarce today. Now, let's focus specifically on the 1982 D quarter. The D Mint mark indicates that the coin was produced at the Denver Mint. In total, over 480 million quarters were struck at Denver in 1982. That's a high mintage number, which means these coins are not rare in a general sense. You can still find them in circulation, and millions exist in average worn condition. However, because of the lack of mint sets and the large number of coins that were handled roughly over time, finding a coin in better than average condition can be a challenge. Before we talk about values, let's address a common misconception. Many people ask whether the 1982 D quarter is made of silver. The answer is no. The last circulating silver quarters were issued in 1964. Starting in 1965, quarters were made with a clad composition that's a copper core sandwiched between layers of copper nickel. The 1982 D quarter follows this clad composition and contains no silver content. So if it's not silver and not rare by mintage, why are collectors interested in it? The key is in its condition and the historical context of its production year. Coins from 1982 in circulated condition are worth face value. That's 25 cents unless they have something special about them. But when collectors are trying to assemble a complete set of Washington quarters from every year and mint, the 1982 and 1983 issues are often harder to find in good condition. That raises demand for higher quality examples. Let's talk about what normal damage condition means. For our purposes, let's assume this refers to a circulated coin with common wear and tear, minor scratches, worn surfaces, and no obvious mint errors or unusual features. A typical 1982 D quarter, in this condition, is valued primarily based on its face value. In the market today, most circulated examples like this are worth around 25 cents to perhaps 50 cents if they are in better than average circulated condition. There is, however, a bit of a premium for lightly circulated coins that still retain some original luster or sharper detail. These might sell to collectors or dealers for around 75 cents to $1, but these prices are not guaranteed. The actual value depends on the buyer and the condition of the coin in hand. Now, if you have a coin in uncirculated condition, that is, one that was never used in commerce and has no visible wear, then things get more interesting. An uncirculated 1982 D quarter, graded MS63 to MS65 by a reputable grading service, can sell for anywhere from $3 to $15, depending on the grade. In higher mint state grades, especially MS66 and above, values can go even higher. Some top-grade coins, like MS67 examples, have sold for more than $100 at auction. Although these are rare and represent the best preserved coins known. It's important to understand how coin grading works. Grading is a detailed process that looks at wear, luster, strike quality, and eye appeal. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin. Most coins you find in circulation fall below grade 60, often in the VF or very fine range, and that's where most 1982 D quarters fall today. Now, there's also a small group of 1982 D quarters with notable errors or varieties. One well-known variety from this year is the No Mint Mark quarter from the Philadelphia Mint, but that does not apply to the Denver coin. There are also examples of 1982 D quarters with die cracks, doubling, or off-center strikes. These types of mint errors can raise the value of a coin significantly, depending on the type and visibility of the error. A dramatic off-center strike or a double die might fetch several dollars or even more among specialized collectors. To summarize the value for a normal 1982 D quarter with typical wear and no errors, you're looking at a market value of around 25 cents to maybe 50 cents. It's not a rare or high-value coin in this condition, but it's still collectible, especially to those assembling date and mint mark sets. If you happen to have a cleaner example, or even one that appears uncirculated, it's worth checking it closely or having it evaluated by a coin dealer. Certified coins in high mint state can be worth much more. For collectors or hobbyists, the 1982 D quarter represents an interesting piece of U.S. coinage history, a coin from a transitional period, when the mint was changing its production practices and cutting back on sets for collectors. While most of these coins aren't going to pay off your mortgage, they do carry historical significance, and they can be a fun addition to any collection. If you have some 1982 D quarters at home, take a moment to look at them. Check their condition, see if there are any visible errors or anomalies, and compare them to images of higher grade coins online. Sometimes what seems like a common coin might turn out to be something a little more special. Asterisk. Next up, the 1991 issue, what the P mint mark signifies, and most importantly, how much a 1991 quarter is worth in good condition today. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter has been in circulation since 1932. It was originally introduced to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design features a profile of Washington on the obverse, or front, of the coin. This design was created by sculptor John Flanagan, and it became one of the most recognizable coins in U.S. currency. For much of its early history, the Washington quarter was struck in 90% silver. However, due to rising silver prices, that changed in 1965. Beginning that year, quarters were made from a copper-nickel-clad composition instead of silver. So by 1991, quarters were no longer struck with any silver content for general circulation. That means a standard 1991 quarter, including those with a P mint mark, is not made of silver but rather a copper core bonded with a layer of nickel on each side. The P mint mark stands for the Philadelphia Mint, which is one of the facilities of the United States Mint. The Philadelphia Mint has produced billions of coins over the years, and it is one of the most commonly used mints for general circulation coinage. The 1991 Washington quarter with a P mint mark was struck in large numbers. Over 570 million quarters were produced at the Philadelphia Mint that year, making this coin extremely common in circulation. Now, let's take a closer look at what collectors and coin dealers mean when they talk about a coin being in good condition. In numismatics, or the study of coins, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale that ranges from poor to mint state. The term good specifically refers to a coin that is worn but still retains its basic details. It's a lower-end grade, usually indicating heavy wear on high points of the design. For a coin as modern as the 1991 quarter, this level of wear is quite common, because the 1991 quarter is so common and not made of silver. Its value in good condition is typically very close to face value. In most cases, a circulated 1991 quarter from the Philadelphia Mint is worth 25 cents. There's simply not much demand for worn examples of a coin that is already so plentiful. Coin dealers and collectors are usually interested in coins that are rare, have an error, or are in pristine, uncirculated condition. However, there are exceptions and nuances to be aware of. While a regular 1991 P quarter is generally worth its face value, there are certain coins that can be worth more if they have specific characteristics. For example, a coin with a minting error such as a double die, off-center strike, or missing clad layer can bring a premium from collectors. These errors are relatively rare, and their value depends on the severity and visibility of the error, as well as the coin's overall condition. Let's also discuss the difference between face value and collectible value. Face value is the amount printed on the coin, in this case, 25 cents. Collectible value refers to the price someone is willing to pay for a coin because of its rarity, condition, or other features. For a typical 1991 P Washington quarter in average circulated condition, the collectible value does not exceed face value. If you have one that looks unremarkable and shows signs of normal wear, it is very unlikely to sell for more than a quarter, even to a dealer. If you think your coin might be uncirculated or in exceptional condition, that could change the picture slightly. Uncirculated coins are those that have never been used in commerce and therefore show no signs of wear. These coins often have a shiny, lustrous surface and sharp details. A 1991 P quarter in uncirculated condition, graded MS62 MS65, might be worth $1 or $2 to a collector. Higher grade examples, such as those graded MS67 or better, can be worth more, sometimes $10 to $30. Depending on the market. Professional grading is another factor to consider. Coins that have been graded and certified by services like PC or NGC tend to sell for more, especially if the grade is high. These companies use a 70-point scale to assign a grade to a coin, and their certification adds a level of trust for buyers. However, the cost of grading a coin usually starts around $20 or more, which means it doesn't make financial sense to grade a common coin like a 1991 quarter, unless it's in exceptionally high condition. So to summarize, if you have a 1991 Washington quarter with a P mint mark and it's in normal good condition, its current market value is 25 cents. That's the same as its face value. It's not rare, it's not silver, and unless there's a dramatic mint error or the coin is in mint state condition, it doesn't command a premium. That being said, it's always worth taking a closer look if you think your coin has unique features or if it appears to be in unusually good condition. For those curious about silver quarters, it's important to know that the last year the U.S. Mint produced 90% silver quarters for general circulation was 1964. Any quarter dated 1964 or earlier is likely to be silver and has a melt value that is much higher than face value, based on the current market price of silver. As of today, a silver quarter from 1964 is worth around $4 to $5 just for its silver content. but the 1991 quarter does not fall into this category. In conclusion, the 1991 Washington quarter with a P mint mark is a common coin that was produced in large numbers. In normal good condition, it's still worth 25 cents. If you're hoping to find coins with collector value, your best bet is to look for older silver quarters, high-grade modern quarters, or those with rare minting errors. Checking your change can still be a fun and rewarding hobby, even if most coins won't make you rich. Asterisk. Next up, the 1993 quarter with a P mint mark, and evaluate its worth today. Even in damaged condition, the Washington quarter was first issued in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. It replaced the standing Liberty quarter, and the design, created by sculptor John Flanagan, has become a mainstay of American coinage. The obverse of the coin features a profile of Washington, while the reverse originally displayed an eagle with outstretched wings. By 1993, the quarter was still made of copper-nickel-clad composition. Many people confuse these later-date quarters with silver coins. But no standard circulating U.S. quarters were made of silver after 1964. That means that the standard 1993 Washington quarter is not a silver coin. However, there is often some confusion due to the appearance of certain 1993 quarters that look silver because of environmental exposure or coin errors. Also, there are collectors and sellers who refer to such coins as silver-looking or silver-washed, though this doesn't mean they contain actual silver. Unless the coin was part of a special mint set or presentation strike, it contains no silver. Let's now focus specifically on the 1993 quarter with a P mint mark. The P stands for the Philadelphia Mint, which struck over 639 million quarters that year. With such a high mintage, the 1993 P quarter is very common, and in circulated condition, it typically carries only face value 25 cents. But things change when we start to factor in special features, such as die varieties, striking errors, or condition. Some collectors and dealers report unusual versions of these quarters that appear to have misstrikes, off-center strikes, double dies, or other mint errors. It is in these cases that values begin to rise, sometimes dramatically, even if the coin is damaged. Now, let's address the main focus, a 1993 Washington quarter with a P mint mark, in what is known as damaged condition. This term, it is not official but likely refers to a quarter that has a distinctive dent, blemish, or dot, possibly a result of post-mint damage or even an unusual minting error. The key here is to distinguish between actual mint errors and simple damage. From circulation or environmental exposure, collectors and numismatists treat damaged coins differently from error coins. A coin with environmental damage, such as corrosion, scratches, or dents from regular use, generally has lower value unless it also has a genuine minting error. However, if the coin has what is called a retained cud, die crack, die chip, or lamination error, and especially if this appears as a distinct dot, the value could be higher, even if the rest of the coin is damaged. First, if the coin simply has a random blemish or gouge from circulation, for instance, a dot-shaped pit caused by impact, this is considered damage. Damaged coins rarely carry value above face, even if old. So in this case, the 1993 quarter in damaged condition would be worth no more than 25 cents. Some sellers might list such coins online for $1 or $2, but they generally sell at face value, unless a buyer believes there is something special about them. Second, if the coin has an identifiable mint error that happens to appear as a dot or small raised areas such as a die chip or filled die, then it may have additional value. Minor die chips and small retained cuds can sometimes sell for a few dollars, usually between $2 and $15, depending on visibility and appeal. Now, let's look at actual market data. On platforms like eBay and coin auction sites, 1993 quarters with minor mint errors, including dots, die breaks, and other small anomalies have been sold for prices between $3 and $20. Coins with dramatic errors, like broad strikes or off-center strikes, may reach $50 or more. However, in most cases, for common issues, the price remains modest. If the coin in question is both damaged and has a minor dot-like error, then the value may fall somewhere in between. For example, a 1993 quarter with a small die chip that creates a raised dot, but also has environmental corrosion, might fetch $2 to $8 in an online auction, depending on buyer interest. Coin condition matters a lot. Damage reduces value. Even if the coin has an error, uncirculated or mint state versions of the 1993 quarter are also available in the collector market. High-grade examples, such as those graded MS65 or higher by PCGS or NGC, can sell for $10 to $50 or more, but this assumes no damage and near-perfect surfaces. A damaged coin, even with an error, will not reach these values. For those who own a 1993 quarter and are wondering if it's worth more than face value, the key is to have it evaluated by a knowledgeable collector or dealer. You can also submit clear photos to online coin forums where experts may help identify whether your coin has a genuine error or is simply post-mint damaged. Let's briefly talk about demand. The Washington Quarter Series has a wide collector base, but demand for modern clad coins, like the 1993 quarter, tends to be lower unless something unusual is present. Coins with major mint errors are always in demand, even from the 1990s, because of their rarity and uniqueness. But coins with common damage are mostly of interest to beginner collectors or those building error reference sets. Some collectors find beauty or historical interest in damaged coins with odd features, especially if those features look unusual. So even if the coin isn't worth a lot in monetary terms, it can still be a conversation piece or a unique part of a collection. In summary, a standard 1993 Washington quarter with a P-mint mark is common and usually worth only face value if circulated and damaged. However, if the coin has a unique error, such as a raised dot from a die chip, it might be worth a few dollars. The market for such coins exists, but it is relatively small, and prices vary depending on the severity and visibility of the error. Most examples in damaged condition, even with minor dot-like anomalies, sell for between $1 and $10. If you believe your coin may have a rare or significant error, consider getting it examined by a professional grading service. Certification can increase the coin's market value and appeal. Next up, the 1970D Washington Quarter. Unique, what it's made of, how it differs from other coins of its era, and most importantly, how much it might be worth today, especially if it's in normal, circulated, or what some might call dirty condition. Let's start with the basics. The Washington Quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. It quickly became the standard design for the quarter-dollar denomination and has remained a central part of his currency ever since. For decades, the obverse of the coin has featured the familiar portrait of George Washington, while the reverse featured an eagle with outstretched wings, till the design changed in the late 1990s. The 1970D Washington Quarter, as the name suggests, was minted in 1970 at the Denver Mint. This is indicated by the small D mint mark located on the obverse side of the coin. Just to the right of Washington's ponytail, one key detail to understand about the 1970D quarter is that it was not struck in silver for general circulation. By 1970, the U.S. Mint had already discontinued the use of 90% silver in quarters. This change began in 1965, when the Mint transitioned to a copper-nickel-clad composition due to the rising cost of silver. Therefore, most 1970D quarters were struck using the standard clad composition, a core of pure copper sandwiched between two layers of cupellage. These coins have a silvery appearance but contain no actual silver content. However, there is a reason some people associate the 1970D quarter with silver. That's because a very limited number of 1970D quarters were mistakenly struck on 1941 Canadian silver quarter planche. These rare mint errors were created when leftover blanks from Canadian coin production somehow ended up being used at the Denver Mint. The error is extremely rare and highly sought after by collectors, but chances are very slim that the average person will find one of these in circulation. These specific error coins can sell for several $1,000s depending on condition and authentication. For the purposes of this video, we are not discussing those rare mint errors. Instead, we're focusing on the regular 1970D quarter that was widely circulated and made of the standard copper-nickel composition. So, if you have a 1970D quarter that looks used, worn, or dirty from decades of circulation, what is it worth? The answer, in most cases, is very close to face value. Because these coins are not made of silver and were produced in large quantities, they are considered common. In fact, the U.S. Mint produced over 417 million of the 1970D Washington quarters. That high mintage means there is no rarity driving up the base value of a circulated coin. For a coin that has been in circulation and shows signs of wear commonly referred to as a dirty condition, its value is generally around 25 cents. In other words, its face value. Most dealers or collectors would not pay more than that unless the coin had an unusual error, a very high grade despite circulation, or historical significance tied to a specific die variety. Coin condition is graded using a scale from 1 to 70, with circulated coins generally falling somewhere below 60. A coin in dirty or worn condition might fall in the range of good G4 to fine F12. Depending on the degree of wear. Even coins graded as very fine VF20 or extremely fine EF40 will typically not fetch more than a small premium unless there is something else unique about them. On online marketplaces such as eBay or collector forums, you may occasionally see circulated 1970D quarters listed for sale at prices above face value. However, the actual selling price is usually not much higher, perhaps 30 to 50 cents. If someone is trying to complete a Dayton Mint Mark collection and is missing that specific coin, even in lightly circulated condition, the value rarely climbs. past $1. For a regular, dirty 1970D quarter, you can expect the value in today's market to be between 25 and 50 cents. There are, however, some exceptions. If you find a 1970D quarter in uncirculated condition, meaning it shows no signs of wear and retains its original mint luster, it may be worth more. An uncirculated example, graded MS62 MS65, might fetch anywhere from $2 to $10. Higher examples, particularly those graded MS67 or above, could be valued at $25 or more. But again, these are coins that have never been used in commerce and have been carefully preserved since 1970. For the average person, finding a 1970D quarter in pocket change, unless it has been exceptionally well preserved or is one of the rare mint eras struck on a silver planchette, the value will not exceed $1. It's important to manage expectations and understand that not every old coin is valuable. Age alone does not determine value. Rarity, condition, demand, and composition all play critical roles. If you're unsure about the value of your coin and think it may be something rare or special, you can always take it to a reputable coin dealer. For evaluation, many dealers offer free verbal appraisals and can help identify potential errors or varieties. You can also look for diagnostic features online to compare your coin to known varieties. To summarize, the regular 1970D Washington quarter, in circulated or dirty condition, is not considered rare or particularly valuable in today's coin market. Its composition is not silver but rather a copper-nickel clad, and it was minted in very large quantities. Most of these coins are worth between 25 and 50 cents, depending on condition. Only the extremely rare era coins struck on Canadian silver planchettes or those in uncirculated high grades are worth significantly more. That said, every coin has a story, and collecting can be as much about history and learning as it is about value. If you come across a 1970D quarter, it's always worth a second look just in case. Next up, the 1985 Washington quarter with the D mint mark. We'll explore the background of this coin, what makes it unique or not, and most importantly, we'll take a closer look at its market value today, especially if it's in what many would consider a normal, dirty, or circulated condition. Before we begin, it's important to understand some background about the Washington quarter itself. The Washington quarter was first minted in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Since then, it has become a staple of U.S. coinage. The design was initially intended as a one-year commemorative issue, but it was so well received that it replaced the standing Liberty quarter and has remained in use with various redesigns. Since the obverse of the quarter features a left-facing portrait of George Washington, while the reverse on the 1985 coin shows an eagle with outstretched wings clutching a bundle of arrows, with olive branches below. This reverse design was used from 1932 until 1998. Coins made during this era are commonly found in circulation, and most of them do not have significant numismatic value unless they are in exceptional condition or have mint errors. Now let's talk specifically about the 1985 Washington quarter with the D mint mark. The D stands for the Denver Mint, which is one of the facilities operated by the U.S. Mint. In 1985, both the Denver and Philadelphia mints struck Washington quarters. The Denver Mint produced over 500 million quarters that year, specifically around 519 million coins. That's a massive number, and it plays a big role in determining how valuable these coins are today. One of the biggest misconceptions about the 1985D quarter is that it contains silver. It's understandable why people might think this, especially since earlier quarterzos dated 1964 and earlier were made from 90% silver. However, starting in 1965, the U.S. Mint switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition for quarters. This means that the 1985D quarter is not made of silver, despite what some might assume. It's composed of an inner core of pure copper and outer layers of a copper-nickel alloy. Because the 1985D quarter isn't silver, its intrinsic metal value is quite low. As of today, the the value of the metals it contains is just a few cents, far less than its face value of 25 cents. This means that, from a bullion standpoint, the coin isn't worth more than a standard quarter. That said, coin collectors often look at more than just metal content. They look at things like rarity, condition, demand, and mint errors. So where does the 1985D quarter stand when you factor in those criteria? In circulated or normal condition, what some might refer to as dirty condition, which includes coins that have been in use, have visible wear, or even some grime or tarnish, the value of a 1985D quarter is typically very low. Most coin dealers and collectors will consider such a coin to be worth between 25 and 50 cents. That's right, usually not more than double its face value, and often just the same as spending it at the store. The market is saturated with these coins in average circulated condition. So unless your coin is in brilliant, uncirculated, or mint state condition, specifically grades like MS65 or higher, it won't carry a premium. Even in mint condition, the coin generally sells for no more than a few dollars. For example, a 1985D quarter-graded MS-65 by a professional grading service might fetch anywhere from $3 to $7, depending on current market trends. Those in even higher grades like MS-67 can sell for $25 to $50, or slightly more, but such coins are uncommon and must be visually flawless to command such prices. Now, let's go back to the average person who finds a 1985D quarter in their pocket change. It's likely to be a normal, circulated coin with some dirt, maybe a few nicks, or even minor corrosion. In this condition, it will typically not be considered collectible. If you were to try selling it to a coin dealer, they might politely decline, or they may offer you face value only. On online marketplaces like eBay, some people do try to sell circulated 1985D quarters, but unless they bundle several together or highlight a rare error, most listings don't sell for more than $1 or $2. Shipping fees usually exceed the value of the coin itself. One possible exception is if the coin has a known mint error. For example, off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchettes, or coins struck on the wrong metal planchette can fetch higher prices among error coin collectors. However, these are relatively rare. If you suspect your coin has an error, it's worth doing some research or consulting with an experienced numismatist. It could be worth significantly more, but again, this is not the norm. So to summarize, the 1985D Washington quarter, in dirty, circulated condition, is not particularly rare or valuable. Its high mintage, lack of silver content, and commonness in circulation all contribute to its low market value. Today, its worth is essentially 25 cents. Perhaps a bit more if sold individually online, but usually not more than 50 cents unless it's in pristine condition or has a verifiable mint error. Of course, coins can still be valuable in ways beyond monetary worth. Some people enjoy collecting them for historical reasons, sentimental value, or just for fun. If you enjoy the hobby of coin collecting, every coin has a story, and even a common 1985D quarter tells us something about its history, minting practices, and the evolution of currency. If you have a 1985D quarter and were hoping it might be worth a small fortune, the reality is that it probably isn't, but it might still be a fun addition to your collection. And who knows, you might find a rarer coin next time you go through your change. Next up, the 1995 Washington quarter with a P mint mark, especially in extra fine condition. In this video, we're going to look into the details of this coin, its historical context, and what it's worth today in the collector's market. To begin, it's important to understand what the Washington quarter represents. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the obverse features a profile of George Washington, while the reverse, from 1932 to 1998, depicted an eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows and olive branches. This design remained largely unchanged until the state quarter program began in 1999. Now let's focus on the 1995 quarter, minted in Philadelphia, as indicated by the P mint mark, located to the right of Washington's ponytail on the obverse. This coin is part of the standard circulation series. Over 1.1 billion quarters were struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1995. Making it a relatively common coin in circulation. However, condition plays a critical role in determining a coin's value, especially in the numismatic world. When we refer to a coin in extra fine condition, we're talking about a coin that has seen limited circulation. It shows only minor wear on the highest points of the design, such as Washington's cheekbones and jawline, or the eagle's wings and breast on the reverse. The details remain crisp, and the coin retains much of its original luster. It is significantly better looking than an average circulated coin but doesn't meet the sharpness and cleanliness of uncirculated or mint state coins. Now, it's essential to clear up a common misunderstanding. The standard 1995 quarter is made of a clad composition, not silver. By 1995, silver quarters had not been produced for general circulation in decades. The last 90% silver quarters were minted in 1964. From 1965 onwards, quarters were made of a copper-nickel clad composition. So when someone refers to a 1995 Washington silver quarter, they may either be mistaken, or they might be referring to a special collector's edition struck in silver by the U.S. Mint, such as those found in proof sets. That said, there was no standard 90% silver business strike quarter issued in 1995. The only 1995 quarters made of silver would be those included in the 1995 silver proof sets. These proof coins, however, were struck at the San Francisco Mint and Baroness Mint mark. So, if you have a 1995 quarter with a P mint mark, it is made of copper-nickel, not silver. Despite that, collectors still seek out well-preserved examples of this coin, especially those in higher grades. In extra fine condition, A 1995 menos P quarter has a modest but noticeable value above face value. On today's market, an extra fine example typically sells for around 50 cents to $1. It may not seem like much, but considering it is more than double its face value, it does carry some collector interest. That the real value for this coin comes into play when it's in uncirculated or near perfect condition. Coins that grade MS65 or higher can sell for several dollars. A pristine example graded MS67 might even fetch $25 to $50, depending on market demand and appeal. However, in extra fine condition, the price remains relatively affordable, making it a great entry-level coin for new collectors who want to begin building a collection of late 20th century U.S. coinage. In addition to grade and condition, errors and varieties also play a key role in a coin's value. For the 1995p quarter, there are a few known errors that can increase its value. These include off-center strikes, double dies, and clipped planch. If you believe your coin may have an error, it is a good idea to have it professionally graded or examined by a numismatic expert. To summarize, the 1995 Washington quarter with a P mint mark in extra fine condition is a collectible coin with modest value, typically between 50 cents and $1 in today's market. While it is not made of silver and was produced in large numbers, its condition, potential errors, and role in the historical timeline of U.S. coinage make it a worthy piece for collectors. Whether you're just starting out or adding to an existing collection, keeping an eye out for well-preserved examples of this coin can be a rewarding experience. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more coin collecting content. See you, and next time, happy collecting.